Hello and welcome to this video where we'll go into repetition of SQL and repetition of this course in SQL DuckDB. I will move directly to code soon, but I will say that in this repetition video I won't go into all the contents that we have covered in the course. Instead, we will only pick out those parts that are part of the exam, and for those that are studying this course with me live. But I will add more repetition on the rest of the contents as well. But I will write in what parts that are in this repetition. So let's go on to VS Code here. We can see that we start with putting in the Sakila DuckDB here. So this is the only data I put in right now, and the SQL folder is empty. So with this setup, let's start with in the terminal in the CLI. So let's do like this: DuckDB data slash Sakila.DuckDB. I use tab in order to autocomplete, and when I run this, I get a DuckDB CLI command line interface, which I can use to work with DuckDB. So in this shell. So I can start with dest in order to describe. So describe, we can see here is all the we see all the available tables. Actually, they are views, but I will come back to that later. And we haven't really covered views in this course, but it's kind of like a virtual table. But we'll come back to that a little bit later. So you can work with this in the CLI. So this we started with in the beginning, and then afterwards we moved towards dbeaver, so that we had an IDE, integrated development environment, so that we can work with our SQL queries there. But first I can show a little bit in the IDE. We can do select star from, for example, main.staff list, for example, and then here we can see, oh, here's the staff list. We get star. It means that we will retrieve all the columns. It's a wildcard selection, right? So here you can see here is all the columns, and we will get the corresponding rows. That is what the select star works like. And if I want to have specific rows, I'll do up button, and I can go here and do select ID, comma, name, for example, comma, city. Then I get all these columns, right? So then I only get I get the subset of this result set. So, or I get the subset from the table, basically. That is what I get. Okay, and one more thing, I said that these are views. How do I know that? Well, let's do like this: select star from information schema.tables. And when I do this, we can see that we have something called table type here, and it's view. And view is basically a virtual table, so it doesn't store any data. Instead, it stores the SQL code, and when you run it, it will execute it and return a table for you. And in order, when you do this, you will get a fresh update of the data, and you don't store the data. And view is very good if you want to show specific analysis of different kinds. For example, I want to have the orders in a monthly basis, and I could have a monthly view, etc. But no matter, we won't go into details here. That will come back in a later course. So here you just need to know that the view basically similar to table, but it's a virtual one. However, there will be a little bit difference when we go into trying to update this view. It's not similar to updating a table, so we cannot add a column to a view as it doesn't store any columns, right? So, however, when querying, it's the same. So I can query using select statement, I can filter it using where, etc. It's the same as if it were a normal table. Okay, so this is the only new thing in this repetition. Otherwise, it's mostly based on what you've learned before. Okay, so I will exit here, and why do I need to exit from here before I go into the Beaver? Well, it's because when I open up this DuckDB database, it means that Visual Studio Code and this terminal here, it sets a lock. It sets a lock on this database. It means that I cannot open it in another database. Or I cannot open this database in another program such as the Beaver because it has locked it. And this has to do with if you lock it, then you won't be able to get to different updates at the same time, for example, which will make the data not consistent. So it puts a lock, so I need to exit from this program in order for the lock to be open, right? So I exit from here, so I can do it using a dot command like .quit or .exit, or I can use it using Control-B in Mac or Control-C in Windows. But I do .quit, and we see that we're outside, right? So now I'll move on to the Beaver. So let's go into the Beaver here. And in the Beaver, I'll close down my other scripts. And what we do now is we need to file, open projects from file system, directory. And here I will go into documents, I'll go into SQL course demos, repetition, and I'll open this folder. So then I will get this 17 repetition in the projects explorer, in the projects here. And in the projects, in this repetition, I go into connections and I will do a new connection. So I click here, new database connection. DuckDB, next, open this, and I will go into data Sakila DuckDB, right? Finish this, double click it so that we have a database connection here. Click on SQL and click here in order to create a new SQL script so that it the script comes under this SQL folder. Note that the SQL folder we created in VS Code, right? So when we open these projects, we get the SQL folder, we get the data folder. So here, let's change the name. So F2 to change the name. And I'll change it to repetition and which lectures I've chosen here. 04, 05, 08. Yes. So basically 04, if you remember, it's querying data. 05, it's filtering data, and 08 is group by. So this will be covered in this repetition, and I will use. I will start with desc here to describe the data. So let's run this one, and we can see here's the data. Here's the database, and we can do select star from main. We can choose one view to work with. So main payment, and here we can see the payment table, virtual table, and we can see here there's a payment ID, customer ID, staff ID, rental ID, and amount, right? And payment date and last update. So here we have columns and we have rows. So each table is built on, we have columns and we have rows, and one row is also called one record. So note that sometimes I say record, sometimes I say row, but we mean this. I mean the same thing. So here I can do a limit here, limit 10 if I don't want to show everything. So I just show 10 of them. And remember that there is a certain order for the SQL queries, for the different clauses to run. And the order is that we do the, we start with from this, and then we come into select, and we come into the limit, right? So, but we'll move on here. Let's select, for example, I want to have customer ID. I want to have an amount from main.payment. And the P here is an alias, so it's auto-completed from the beaver, but I don't need it now, so I'll just erase it. Erase this one. This one runs super good, and this one also runs well. So now what we have done here is that we select a subset from this table. So we get the customer ID and the amount and all the rows that corresponds to it. So let me do auto formatting with Control-Shift-F. And then let's do some aggregation now. For example, I want to count the number of rows, so I can use an aggregate function. And the aggregate function is called count, which I will use. And what does an aggregate function do? What type of function is it? Well, it's a many-to-one mapping. If you have studied some mathematics, you'll understand what this is. However, it's okay even if you haven't studied it. What it means is that we have many inputs, and after we put it into the count, which is a function, it will map all the inputs into one single value. So we have many inputs, one output, right? So we have the whole row, the whole column is many inputs, right? A lot of records, and these will go into a count function, which will spit out one value. So that is what it does. So select from main dot payment. And we can do select star first, then we will select all the columns and all the rows, right? Then we can count all the rows. So we count all the rows, and I run this one. And we can see here is how many rows we have. Note that we get one value, right? We have many values. We had 16,000, and now we got one. So it's many-to-one mapping. And this word is also new. I think I haven't used it in the course before. So count star, you can see that it's named count star because that is exactly like the column name will be exactly what you have typed in here. However, we will use an alias, so as number payments. Payments. So if I run this one, you see number payments here as the column name. And why do I do this? Well, because I want to have a column name which is more descriptive, so that we can understand, more readable for the human. Okay. Moving on to more aggregate functions, we can get some statistics through select main.payment. And what can I do? Well, I can do min of amount. We can do average of amount. And we could do median of amount. And we could do max of amount, right? Like this. And if I run this one, we can see here we have min amount, average amount, median, and max. Okay, I want to have some aliases, so as min, as average, as median as max, like this. And we can see here min, average, median, max. And the average, we can see, oh, there's a lot of decimals. So what I want to do is I want to round it. So then we come into something called a nested function, and a nested function is a function in a function, right? So you have chains of functions. So what I do is I do a round here, round of average. So it means that it will take the inner function will be run first, and then the outer function will run on the results from the inner function. So it's a nested function. So if I run this, we see that it becomes 4 here after we round it. However, the round it can take another argument, and the other argument is the number of decimals we want, or I mean the number of numbers we want. So we want 2 in the total, or we want 3, for example. Then we get, or 2 is the number of decimals actually, because the next one is 2, 0, right? So it doesn't type out the 0, so it's 4.2. And this is good enough for us. So we have some statistics. And moving on to now we have worked with 0.4 lecture. We can go into 0.5 where we have filtering. So filtering is the 0.5. So for example, I want to have all the records with amounts over 4.2. Well, then I do select here. Select star from main.payments where amount is larger than 4.2. So then I get all the payments which are above average, right? Where I get all the columns corresponding to payments over 4.2. So you can see, yeah, we have some of them, but if you see here, all the amounts, they are over 4.2. And well, what can we do more here? Well, we could sort this. So we could do order by amount. And if I just do order by amount, we can see that, yeah, it starts with 499 and then it's going probably down. If I go down a lot here. Oh, it was actually a lot of 499. Yeah, maybe it was 599 here. Okay, so it means it's ascending order, but I want to order by it in descending order. So I order by descending, and we can see that, yeah, it starts with the highest amounts, right? And here we could also do a limit if you don't want to see all of them. So I could limit 15, for example, and then I cut it out. So I get only 15. So great, and now you can see, yeah, this is how we build on our queries, so that we start very simple, and then we add on different things that we want, and we can really filter the data and the result set to get what we want, right? So using filtering here, and based on different amounts, we could give a level, right? So we could have like, yeah, this is a low amount or low cost, and then we have medium cost, and we have high cost, for example. So let's do, then it's something is called case when, and this is, you can see it if you come from a Python background or another programming background. You can see it as if, else, if, else. So if else in Python. So here we go into we do select star from or we don't do select star, instead we do select amount from main.payment. And when I run this, I get all the amounts, and I want to see if the amounts is which amount level we have, right? So then we do case when end, like this. When, and then we have a condition, and then we have then, right? When, condition, then. That is the syntax. When, condition, then. So when amount smaller than, for example, 3.5, then we do here low cost. Okay, and you can see here we have all the low costs for those that are smaller than 3.5. I will copy this one. When amount is smaller than my next threshold, 7.5 for example, I will call it medium cost. And you can see there's a lot of nulls here, right? And why is there nulls? Yeah, because there are some values that we haven't covered in our in this case one. So we haven't covered those that are higher than 7.5, right? Or 7.5 or higher. We haven't covered those. So how do we cover those? Well, we could do like this: else high cost. So doing this, we have covered all the cases. So we can see here we have low, 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 and we have high for those that are higher than 7.5. And you can see this is unreadable column name. So let's change that one as cost level or payment level. We could have picked, but yeah, I've chosen cost level now. So let's do like this. Okay, and here we have the case when. Perfect. We could like do like this. If we want to add this column into the result set of all the other columns, we could just do star here and run this one, and we can see we get everything and we get the cost level as well. And if we would want to have it in other order, then you need to pick out which columns to place where. So you can pick this one cost level in the middle, for example. Then you need to pick, for example, okay, payment ID, customer ID, and then amount, and then cost level, and etc. So you pick where you place it. However, so now we have added it in our result set, but this has not mutated our table, right? So our table is still the same, or our view is still the same. And if you remember from when we were doing updates, we could add a column, right? But that doesn't work for views. Instead, we need to create a new view. So let's do that. Create view. Or we could create a table if we wanted to have it as a table, but we create a view since these are all views. If not exists, main dot payment level. We need to use another name. We cannot use the same name and reference the same name. So as. So now I will just put in this part here. So I will remove the semicolon and put it here. So what does this mean? Well, we have so we get star and we get this case, which is cost level. So we get the whole result set and we'll put it into a new view called main.payment level. If not exists. So if it exists, it doesn't do anything, right? It's idempotent. So I run this one. And now I will create. Now I will select star from main.payments level like this. Run this one, and you can see, yeah, this is now we have the cost level here. Perfect. So what can I do more here? Well, I could do, for example, I will copy this one. And I will do a group by also here. So cost level, I want to pick out the cost level, and I want to have from payment level group by cost level. So if I do this, I want to use an aggregation function as well, because group by then will get it's a many to one function, so that all the cost levels will become one cost level, and then all the payment, all the other column which I pick now must be one value as well. And how does it become one value? Well, I apply an aggregation function, which is a many to one mapping, right? So then we pick amount, and right now the tables are like one is very small and one is very large, right? It's a mismatch, so it doesn't work. So that's why. So if I run this one, it doesn't work. But however, if I do count here, then it will work. So it means that these are the. I will pick another name also. So as number per level. So like this, and you can see, yeah, medium cost this much, etc. And group by, after we do group by, we could do order by not cost level, or yeah, we could do cost level. Could do cost. We could number per level. Number per level. Yeah, we could do ascending. So we have here high cost, we have so many, low cost so many, medium cost so many. And note that we have a comma here, and this comma is just for formatting. It is integers here. That is really important to know. With this, I'd like to thank you and see you in the next video. Bye.